How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on YouTube and Facebook Live. I am your host, Richie, and today we're going to be going over the Week 10 NFL Sunday Rundown. New York Giants hit an all-time low for the season as they now have the rights to the number one pick in the NFL draft, assuming that the standings stay the same. A very disheartening finish to a very poorly played football game. I think it was a blessing that that game came on so early because that was not consumable to the viewers. As the Carolina Panthers improved to 3-7 on the year, the Giants dropped to 2-8 and are currently sitting in the number one spot. Graham Gano making his second appearance of the season, missing a very makeable 40-yard field goal earlier in the game. Daniel Jones committing two turnovers, both interceptions. And the final kicker before the final kick was the Tyrone Tracy fumble, first play of overtime for the G-Men. And Pinheiro of the Carolina Panthers kicking them to victory. What does this mean if there's a silver lining? The Giants need a quarterback, folks. So I guess if there's anything positive to say, it's that the New York Giants should be in the running for one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL that are going to be coming in the NFL draft. Does that mean that Brian Dable stays? I don't know. I've said it many times on my show that by the previous regime investing in Daniel Jones, in a way, they almost borrowed trouble and leave the previous GM, Dave Gettleman, off the hook. So I think that remains to be seen if head coach Brian Dable, as well as general manager Joe Shane, will remain. So you can see I'm very casual this morning. Got the camera off, making some coffee. If you hear the sink in the background, my apologies. But yeah, New York Football Giants most definitely are on the bottom right now, and there is really no value in winning. I don't advocate tanking. I don't believe in tanking. But one thing I will say is that last season, when the New York Giants won meaningless football games, it prevented them from being at the top of the draft where they could have drafted a Drake May, a Caleb Williams, or a Jayden Daniels. Ultimately, they got a very good player in wide receiver Malik Neighbors. But a big issue in the Giants' offense this year is that Daniel Jones has not been able to elevate Malik Neighbors, to get him open, to put him in game plans where the Giants can utilize his very dynamic skill set. So I knew it would be a long season. I didn't know how long. And I think the frustration for most fans is that week in and week out, you see a defense that competes at a high level. Giants have a top 5 defensive line. Giants lead the league in sacks. But until the quarterback position gets rectified, this is what you're going to see. But I think help's on the way. And I think the New York Giants will be getting their man. Who will it be? There are plenty of guys out there. I know in terms of star value, Shedeur Sanders will be the guy that many want. I'm not 100% sure if that is the guy that they need, though. Time will reveal that. You have the combine. You have some big bowl games coming up that will be revealed. But I must admit, from a star-based standpoint, Shedeur Sanders would be very exciting to come over. Something tells me Shedeur's future is with the Raiders, though, especially since they may be moving on from head coach Antonio Pierce. Could actually be a twofer. I mean, you do have Tom Brady upstairs in a small minority ownership role, but it would be interesting to see if they were to go that route and bring in Shedeur Sanders. Plenty of talented quarterbacks in the mix. So the New York Giants will be upgrading that position. And if there's another point of emphasis that the New York Giants need, I would probably say cornerback, because Deonte Banks has definitely regressed from his promising rookie year. I feel that the Giants' defensive line is among the best in the league, and the numbers support that. Offensive line has been adequate. They could be better. Of course, missing all-pro offensive tackle Andrew Thomas has affected them. He was lost for the season after the Monday night game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Other happenings in the NFC East. I titled this show, part of the title, Boys to Men. And that's exactly what it was, because the Dallas Cowboys looked like children alongside the Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas is still winless, similar to the New York Giants at home. And I must admit, the Philadelphia Eagles, while they've been under a ton of scrutiny and a lot of people not taking them serious as title contenders, I think it's time that people start doing that. Saquon Barkley has transformed that team into a true title contender. He completes that offense. A.J. Brown showing no ill effects of the injury designation. He had a hell of a game. And quite frankly, the Dallas offense was non-existent. You can see the obvious fall off with Cooper Rush in there, as opposed to Dak Prescott, who's going to be out for the year. And the Dallas Cowboys are another team that you're going to have to examine going into this offseason, because they are going to be a team going into a very critical offseason, figuring out what they are going to do at the head coaching position, as well as some very important pivotal personnel moves. Because where is Micah Parsons going to go? Are they going to be able to afford him after paying Dak and CeeDee Lamb? Definitely something to monitor. As the Eagles go, they fortify that this is a two-team race. And with the Commanders' loss yesterday to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe the Eagles have a leg up given their experience. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles will win the NFC East division. As the Commanders go, hard-fought game, but a mental error late that cost them. You have to give a shout-out to head coach Mike Tomlin, as well as the wily veteran Russell Wilson, the hard count, getting the Commanders to go off sides to solidify the victory. It was a little closer than I thought. I actually thought that Pittsburgh was going to win by a touchdown or more. And, losing to some of the better teams in the league, these are all learning curves and learning experiences for this young Washington team. But the Commanders, to me, still do not have that signature win against one of the better teams in the league. They were on death's doorstep against the Chicago Bears before that amazing Hail Mary. But truthfully, when I look at the Commanders' schedule, I have not seen a signature win. They beat the Giants twice by one score. It took a Hail Mary to defeat the Chicago Bears. They have losses to the Buccaneers. They have a loss now to the Steelers. And they have a loss to the Ravens. If there is something good about the three losses that they did suffer, is that two of them are against the AFC. And if you're going to lose, you want to lose outside the conference. But I still like the Eagles' chances to win this division, because I believe the Eagles are a better team, and I think they are more battle-tested. But it will be very interesting to see how this goes down the stretch. Because truthfully, when I look at the Cowboys and Giants on a week-to-week basis, I don't see any fight in either one of these teams that would even lead me to believe that the Dallas Cowboys or the New York Giants can knock one of these guys off to even alter the race. My girlfriend is sleeping, and she's pointing outside. She wants me to step away. And I want her to understand that while I don't want to mess up her nap time, I also don't want to have you guys hearing something that sounds like Jurassic Park in my backyard, because we have many a bird here. I apologize. I'm waiting on my coffee. This was kind of an improv. Turn the camera off. But yeah, we're getting into it. NFC East. And look who's emerging, my little guy Noah. Good morning, son. How you doing, buddy? How was your sleep? He starts his first day of school at his new school tomorrow, so definitely looking forward for his new journey at his new school. He's excited about that. Moving it along, we are done with the NFC East. Let's move it along to the AFC East for a moment. Tonight, Monday Night Football, we have the Miami Dolphins taking on the Los Angeles Rams. This is a game that I think could go over. I noticed in Hard Rock, they have a 50-point over-under. I think it could go over. This has the makings of a game that could be a shootout. I do like the Rams to win. Neither one of these teams' defenses completely impress me. And I think this is the kind of game where the Dolphins' offense could kind of find themselves. But I don't think they win tonight. If there's any kind of side story in an interconference game in a lost season for the Dolphins, is that Odell Beckham Jr. suits up against the team that he won a Super Bowl with. I know that head coach Mike McDaniel has said recently that he does want to incorporate Odell Beckham Jr. more into the week-to-week game plans. But this season was basically derailed from the jump. I mean, week one, going into the stadium, Tyreek Hill getting stopped by the police, the situation that went down in front of the stadium. That was kind of just the beginning of the kind of year the Dolphins were going to have. Tua Tagovailoa a week later, yet another concussion. He missed a huge chunk of the year. And offensively, the Dolphins just have not been themselves. Do I think head coach Mike McDaniel is on the hot seat? I actually don't. But I do think that the Miami Dolphins missed a golden opportunity to sell some parts to kind of remain relevant going into next year. I was shocked that they didn't consider moving on from some of their high-priced players. So we will see what the Dolphins' bigger plans are going into the new season. As the game goes tonight, I've got the Los Angeles Rams winning this thing 34-24. I think there's going to be some points on the board tonight. Got a comment coming in. My apologies. Facebook is having an issue with StreamYard where they are not showing who's commenting. It just says Facebook user. So if you don't mind, identify yourself. Yeah, YouTube doesn't have that issue, but Facebook unfortunately is. This could be Nunez. Not really sure who this is. So if you don't mind, just please let me know who you are so that way I know who I'm talking to. But thanks for joining the show. On to some other happenings in the AFC East. New England Patriots picking up a W yesterday. See, they have their quarterback already. So winning a game actually has some value for them. They defeat the Chicago Bears 19-3, a Bears team that has been sputtering. And I think you got to feel good if you're the Patriots. Drake May, week in, week out, gradually growing. A big win. In my opinion, the Chicago Bears haven't been right since losing that game to the Washington Commanders. Yo, Q, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Yeah, man, Facebook, they're having an issue with revealing names. They're working on that. But yeah, good to see you here, bro. I'm assuming you're off today because of the holiday. I actually got to go in. But it was funny. You know, Jen's kind of knocked out on the couch. We had a late day yesterday, hung out with the fam, and Noah came in here, gave me a look, and just basically said the Dolphins are going to win. I think he's wilding out. But, you know, New York Jets once again fool their fan base as after getting an emotional victory on Halloween, they revert back to jetting as they get blown out, completely annihilated in Arizona. And the Arizona Cardinals are keeping pace, giving themselves a chance to win the West Division, keeping pace with the San Francisco 49ers, a drubbing 31-6 over the New York Jets. And the Jets are running out of time to put up any kind of continuity, to put up any kind of run. And, you know, in each division, usually you're like, oh, it's a two-team race. It's a one-team race. It's something, three-team race. There's two divisions that I think you could almost stamp out already. AFC West, AFC East. The Chiefs and the Bills, you could pretty much already stamp it out. And I guess you could say the same thing about the Texans. I would say that the only division in the AFC where it's going to go down the wire would be the Steelers and the Ravens. Because the Kansas City Chiefs, while they did narrowly escape defeat yesterday, they won yet again. We're going to speak on them in a minute. They have quite the lead in the AFC West. Buffalo Bills yesterday, after an erratic game from Josh Allen, they overcome that. He did it with his legs. They did it with their running game. They did it with some timely defense. The Bills continue to roll. And week in and week out, I ask myself, who's a team that can challenge the Kansas City Chiefs in this conference? And we're going to have a potential playoff preview this week as the Kansas City Chiefs travel to Western New York to take on the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be a hell of a battle. It was a hell of a playoff game last year that came down to a heartbreaking Tyler Bass missed field goal. Not going to tip my hand on who I'm going to pick just yet. Tune into the preview for that, but I will say this. 2 of the best 5 quarterbacks, talking about Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, are going to be on the field. And I'll be honest, Patrick Mahomes' numbers have not been all that this year. Josh Allen, on the other hand, doubled his total interceptions yesterday. As going into yesterday, he had 2. He threw 2 yesterday, but it didn't affect the victory. Buffalo kind of has that look of a team that's just kind of lying in the weeds and is ready to do something special. We've seen this movie before where the Bills looked like they could take the next step, but there's something about this Buffalo team this year that makes me look at them just a little different. And I do think that this could potentially be the year that the Buffalo Bills finally get over the hump and win that elusive Vince Lombardi trophy. I think from a fan level, what would be exciting would be to see the Buffalo Bills play the Detroit Lions. So when this dust settles and the smoke clears, you're going to have a champion that has never hoisted the Lombardi trophy. I personally would root for Buffalo because of their 4 consecutive heartbreaks in the 1990s, started by the New York Giants, who beat them 20-19. Of course, the Desert Storm Super Bowl, arguably the greatest national anthem in the history of Super Bowl by the late Whitney Houston. Hang on one second, folks. Noah, if you'd like to watch something or play some video games, help yourself.
I'm just going to go on my computer.
Oh, you're going to hang on your computer? Okay.
Tornado game because I love tornadoes.
Well, do your thing, bud, because today's your last day of freedom. Tomorrow is school. All right. I'm going to be out here, son, if you need me, all right? Talking to the people about some football. Kids are great. That's all I want to say. Kids are great. All right, moving it along. NFC North, I touched on it briefly. Pittsburgh Steelers did get a victory. I still think the Baltimore Ravens have the more talented team. When I look for what does Pittsburgh have that Baltimore doesn't have, I think Pittsburgh has the more dominant defensive front. And I think Pittsburgh has the better coach. But from a player-for-player standpoint, the Baltimore Ravens are the better team. And the Baltimore Ravens should win this division. They are the other team in that conference that I think on any given day should be able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. In a normal season, if the Kansas City Chiefs were not already a team that was going for a three-peat, winning the last 2 seasons, I would say that their terrific start should be examined a little further. But because of the fact that they have the resume, I have to take them more serious because I'll be honest, I do not think the Chiefs have been that impressive in victory this year, and I do think that they look a little vulnerable. But one thing they have done is mastered the art of winning ugly games and just mastered the art of winning in general. So it should be interesting to see. I believe the Baltimore Ravens will find a way to ultimately win the North, but this is the caveat here. The Pittsburgh Steelers have had the Baltimore Ravens number for quite some time. So for the Ravens to make that actually happen, they have to finally beat the Steelers. In the Lamar Jackson era, that has not consistently happened. It's very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate that the Cincinnati Bengals do not have a defense they can rely on because Joe Burrow's having a season for the ages, as is Jamar Chase. But this team just cannot stop a nosebleed. And they might be good enough just to sneak in the back door for that final playoff spot. But I'm not sure. You got 7 teams that are going to get in, and you got to account for the Los Angeles Chargers as well as the Denver Broncos. I believe the AFC East will only send one team, that being the Bills. The South will only send one team, that being the Texans. Texans lost a heartbreaker last night as Jake Bates kicked the Lions to victory. That's a game that I did not see the Lions coming back to win. I really thought they were cooked. They came back from quite the deficit. And that's another team that looks like they could potentially be a team of destiny. What they did to Green Bay just a short week ago really proved to me that the Lions have come full circle and they really are a legitimate elite team. The thing with the Detroit Lions, in my opinion, they've got the best 1-2 punch in football with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Jared Goff makes minimal mistakes. And when you think about Amon-Ra St. Brown, he could potentially be the best route runner in all of professional football. Sam Laporta has kind of had a down year. He was a little dinged up yesterday. But Dan Campbell, quite frankly, might be the best motivator in all of professional football. So it's going to be interesting to see how far the Lions can go. Last year, that was the NFC title game. They should have won that game last year. Dan Campbell made a grave mistake not taking the short field goal. And, things kind of sputtered out of control. He is a guy that's known for taking big risks. But I do believe that you have to think that he's learned from his mistakes. Packers are a quality team, but I don't think they're quite as good as the Lions. And the biggest fall off with the Packers and Lions is that I trust Jared Goff more than I trust Jordan Love. Somewhere in between is the Minnesota Vikings. A very lackluster game yesterday. Their defense showed up, I got to say that. But offensively, they looked lost. And they were able to squeeze out a victory in Duval 12-7 over the lowly Jacksonville Jaguars. And Mac Jones actually got the start for the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence has not had a good year. He did not play yesterday. But Minnesota, you still got to praise them for what they went through this offseason, losing J.J. McCarthy. Kyrie Jackson was another one of their draft picks. He tragically passed away before the year even started. They spent some money, went out and got Stephon Gilmore. They spent some money, went out and got the veteran Aaron Jones. And Sam Darnold, the well-traveled quarterback, has done an adequate job this year, but I don't think he'll return next year. It will be interesting to see where Darnold goes, though, because there are going to be teams that are going to be interested in the veteran services. I would have to say that the disappointment of the day yesterday around the league has to be the New Orleans Saints dropping that game to the Atlanta Falcons dropping that game to the New Orleans Saints. That was a game that if the Falcons win, I think they completely cement themselves early as the for sure South champions. And although the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost, and although the Falcons did sweep the Buccaneers, by losing that game, they still keep the door open. Now, if I'm a Saints fan, I'm not too happy. Similar to being a Giants fan last year, winning meaningless games when your season is already over, no value on that. So I can't say that I would necessarily be happy if I was a Saints fan. But, you always want to show pride and you always want to try to win. And I said it at the top of the show. My Giants have a good enough defense to be a lot better than 2-8. We're wasting a potential defensive player of the year campaign from Dexter Lawrence, although Dexter has gone 2 consecutive weeks without a sack. But Dexter has been phenomenal. So we'll see. We'll see how the voting goes. There's not much to look forward to outside of the draft if you're a Giants fan right now. But I will say this. It still beats being a Jet fan because the New York Jets allowed a grumpy 40-something-year-old to completely change the trajectory of their organization. The New York Jets are an utter mess right now. And it's kind of comical to see them suffering. Not because I hate the Jets, but I hate the way that they run things, the way that they do things. Woody Johnson has no business being involved in professional football. And I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest Robert Saleh fan, but he got hosed. He got the short hairs. He got screwed. It wasn't fair what they did to Robert Saleh. What else is cooking on the brain? Uh, Big game, like I said. KC Buffalo is going to be huge next week. Um, that could be a preview for the career. Patrick Mahomes is 4-3 versus Josh Allen, but the wins have come predominantly in the playoffs for Mahomes. Allen has never been able to beat him when it matters most. But that's definitely going to be a statement game. And this particular year, I do believe that the Chiefs have been skating by ever so slightly. You know, they had that blocked field goal yesterday to beat the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos are a team on the rise. Sean Payton's doing a very good job with the rookie Bo Nix. And it's been proven time and time again that a young franchise quarterback can really change the direction and the course of your franchise. And speaking of the young quarterback, something interesting to keep a note of, Caleb Williams, who was the number one overall pick out of USC, is 0-2 against the other quarterbacks from his draft class. Yesterday, losing to Drake May, and a couple of weeks earlier, losing to Jayden Daniels. Something interesting. The best of the bunch, in my opinion, and it's not that complicated, it is definitely Jayden Daniels. And that's unfortunate because he wanted the Giants and the Giants wanted him. But the combination of Tommy DeVito and Tyrod Taylor won a lot of meaningless games last year, and that ultimately did hurt the Giants. Get at me. Let me know what you want us to talk about in future shows. I'm going to get out of here. I want to wish a happy Veterans Day to all who served. Shouts out to my man Idris Salam, as well as my man Mike Zappi, two dudes who served. My stepdad, Eddie Acevedo. I hope y'all, at minimum, cash in on a free meal today. We owe you a lot more than that. Until next time, I am Richie. Enjoy your Monday and stay safe out there. Take care.